I don't
Here.
talk about anything, you know me. Uh,
That's what I was just talking to Morgan about. She's like, I like when y'all get together. I'm like, I know he's like as wide open as me. He'll talk about anything.
I listened to you and Kirsty the other day, and I was bagging Kirsty out and say you didn't go
Huh.
like with Todd. He was so there and ripe for the picking with all this sexuality stuff.
Oh, I see. There's a psychological thing to it.
Yeah, and I said you should have just let yourself go, gorgeous.
I should have known you are taking me there. I thought it was just happening organically. You're trying to open me up, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy's open. He'll go deep.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. With you and Kirsty, it's just like gold. I tagged you on it. So
Oh,
we got.
awesome.
Let's see what we got. Hang on, man. It's pouring rain over here. There's
Is it?
18 people. They're coming, but yeah, it's just like this energy came in. I was talking to Morgan a while ago, and I'm like, God, can you hear that? I looked outside and I didn't see any rain, but it sounded like it was raining. But I felt it wasn't the rain I was talking about, it was the energy.
Yep. Sorry, I'm technically inept sometimes, and I was accidentally broadcasting you, and I was just trying to share it. It's energetically, it's going ballistic at the moment, eh?
I think so. There's a lot of different narratives out there. There's that narrative, and I say that with all due respect. I don't mean that to throw light on anybody, but the 3 days of darkness, the solar flash. I mean, I can't speak to that. I mean, I've tried to make sense of it in my own mind and share it, but what I would say, what I would say is that the energy, like you just said, there's something going on with the energy, and it's at all levels, like the physical body. Some more than others. The emotion, the mental, the coincidental, and now you're saying that you're going to be making a life changing move.
Yeah, like I was in meditation on Wednesday, and been like telling you how it was. My meditation was to see whether or not I was to stay with Kirsty, and my I just sat with it because we've been together for 23 years, and like I know that speaking to a lot of people, there's this aspect of unfulfillment in so many people, and a lot of people go searching external to themselves to get this fulfillment. I've always known fulfillment's an inside job, but at the same time, it was like, have I come to a completion? Have Kirsten and I come to a completion to reform how we move on together? Like, I'll always love her, like at my deepest levels. She's taught me so so much about leadership and just the way she parents. She's an amazing mother, and has really helped me explore how to simply be with children ever since Abby was born, our oldest, 16 years ago. And but there was something in me that was sitting there going and screaming at me, going, "You need to stand up, champ, and you need to really own this aspect of yourself more than you've ever done before." And I realized, okay, I've got to get real. So I went up. I had this whole intention 3 weeks ago to go up to the Gold Coast because we need to get some stuff done up there and get a unit and just have a beautiful time together over the full moon and everything. And as it turned out, I'm actually like going through a whole saga of whether or not we stay together. And there was heat in that, and in meditating, I realized that my soul spoke to me straight away. You're with Kirsty right now. That's it. Full stop. And I've gone, okay, right, done. And it made a lot of sense to me in part, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me in part as well. And part of that is just the aspect of this deeper, going even deeper into myself to fulfill. But what I worked out also is there was an aspect of me that was being the coward, and yeah, it was saying to Kirst, if you want to leave the relationship, you can leave the relationship, but I'm standing here. And I realized part of that was actually me not wanting to actually pick myself up and move on. And I've done a lot of releasing of our relationship as part of my identity, um, over the last 12 months, and just letting go of attachment. I'm constantly looking at where I'm attached in life, and really going deep into what that is, and then letting that go and freeing myself up. And I finally got to stand in front of it after 23 years, say, I actually, you've always known I love you and I always will, but I stand in front of you more than ever, not needing to be in this relationship, but I want to. And for me to want to be here, I've got to show up and allow everything to be seen, and no holes barred. Like, that's the way I want to live my life, is no holes barred. And she recoiled, and she teared up, and she goes, I don't know if I can give you that. And like, when I heard that, my soul just went, okay, she's speaking from a wound. And so I just called it. And my lion stood up like he hasn't before with her and said, no, fucking enough's enough. Like, you're amazing. You got so much. I'm amazing. I've got so much. Together, let's just do this no holds barred shit and just see where it takes us. And, you know, um, just it's taken us to the next level. Um, and but what it's calling from us is like radical ownership, radical truth, and call it how it is, James. Call it how it is, cursed, and allow ourselves to sit there non-judgmentally. Like, judgment's left the room now.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
it's so old school. It's so infantile. Um, it's just this. Like, for me, this full moon and this energy shift has caused radical realness.
Whew. Yeah. This. This. Man, I appreciate y'all being so open about it.
It
But
is.
but isn't this what we're talking about overall, in a way? The things we don't want to talk about. Because
Yeah.
if I don't want to talk about something, then that means we're not talking about something. And what you're saying is it's an all or nothing thing. Let's be in a space where we talk about everything, or question about everything, or it's totally open, and there's no, what did you say, taking it personal. There's no, let's just do it and see what it looks like. Maybe that's what we're doing. Maybe that's another way to look at what we're all aligning with, a no bullshit existence, right?
It's funny you say that, because, like, in the aspects of how I'm helping people at the moment, this is coming up left, right, and center. Over here, we have this game called Australian Rules Football, AFL. Don't know if you heard about it, but
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's
I
pretty
used to watch it on
it's
ESPN when I was in college. I loved it.
hey, it's pretty epic. And I work with a few AFL players, past and present, and it's just come out in the media that they're having a lot of issues transitioning. Now, I've known this for ages, because I've helped professional athletes before, and military people, people in very hard cultures transition out of it. And my opinion on this is there's two ways to do a move from such an existence. There's transition, which is clunky, it's challenging, and it's riddled with booby traps. Or there's a migration, and a migration is following the natural ley lines of the earth, the natural magnetic pulls, the natural shifts in my lifestyle, my life, where I'm at now. In myself, I'm not an old character, but I know I'm a deep, deep character,
Yeah.
and I'll go into I'll go into forums where I'm younger than most, and I'll be looked on as an elder. And that's such a humbling and honored position to be, but it takes a level of responsibility and getting my ego out the door as well, because an elder is not a chief warrior. They operate exceptionally differently, and there's a deeper calling. And speaking of realness, the elder is one of the realest people in the tribe. Like they are the callers of the bullshit
Yeah.
because they've seen it all, you know. And the AFL at the moment are like struggling because they're starting to be called out by their own. And but it's not just the AFL. It's like I had a chat to some high level rugby league people as well here, and they're saying, yeah, these organisations are simply ticking boxes, and that's what these organisations do in attempting to look after people is simply tick boxes. But what we're talking about is there's no more box ticking in life. It doesn't matter if you're a person or an organisation or a family or whatever. It's like categorically going. This is how it is. Own the shit. Right. We know this. We know where we are. Now where do we want to be? What's our next step? And doing it in a unified, harmonic, real expression,
Yeah.
if you ask me.
Do you feel like that with your exposure to the AFL, Australian Football League, and what you're talking about, that something's going on at an individual level with, let's just say inside that group, at an individual level with the dudes that are in there? Like, is something happening organically, like innately from inside people, and it's just moving that direction? Is that what you're saying? Or
It,
because the other example was there's booby traps and XYZ. Is this the organic way? Do you actually see it happening?
yeah, like I actually think like everything that's happening in society is organic, even though some people think it's orchestrated. I think there's bigger forces at play. And remember fractals, if you understand that concept.
Yeah.
Um, but the point about that is the AFL and any any professional sport, be that NFL, AFL, whatever it is, soccer, doesn't matter. It's a microcosm of society,
Right.
and the only
Right.
reason why people get paid that level of stuff is because we've allowed it as a society, and
Right.
it reflects something in us all. But excuse me, what's happening in these places where the energy is really really intense is the containers are being shattered, like they've really been broken, and it's like Chernobyl all happening over again, in as an analogy, because these containers are just holding so radically tight but the pressure inside is like nuclear energy, man. That needs to be moved, needs to move in its natural flow. And so they're trying to hold back the dam waters, and it's breaking, and it will first often break at an individual level, and then second, it will start these individuals that start to break. People will start witnessing them and going, yeah, 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 yeah. So for a case in point, what I mean by this, well, a really well-known guy, Nick Greenwald's just spoken out about transitioning being hard for AFL players. Now he's an amazing person. He's an incredible football player, but anything he sets his mind to, like he's got a really massive heart, and he's a very big achiever. So and he even supposedly, and I don't watch TV, but a mate of mine told me he won MasterChef. We have this chef competition, so I don't know, but just don't go there. But anyway, it's on TV, and so the thing is, he won it. So, but the thing is, he spoke out on Monday on a football show saying there are cracks because a friend of his has ended up incarcerated because of drugs, etc.
Right.
And drugs are simply but a symptom,
Yeah.
and that's these people that are cracking at the moment. It's all just symptomology of a bigger shift at play. It doesn't matter what level you want to talk about it, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, interdimensionally. It doesn't matter. There's this shift is just playing out, and so we're seeing these cracks occur. It's just the choice to us is like we've just had a national election in Australia, and people are going, "How the hell, with all these awakened people, did we just end up the way we did?" Well, to be completely honest, I don't even really care, because that's not going to change my life. And the thing is, I look at my life and go, right, what is my soul calling me to do, and what passions and interests do I have that align with that soul calling, that are empowering that soul calling. So therefore, James, what do you therefore need to do? Case in point, our youth are not being educated right. And I know that because my daughters asked me to help them home educate. So I had to look into why education started, how it started as a system. I had to educate myself deeply on the understanding of learning, how people learn, et cetera, et cetera. So I immersed myself in it because of the closest ones to me were calling me to action, and then in the process had these young ones come to us from an old school that the girls went to, and they had like a lot with no fathers, etc. So the
Right.
Young Warrior program was born. Based on the old rite of passage adage to help young men and young women initiate themselves into a tribe because we've lost initiations as people. And don't get me going on that subject, but that's a huge issue there. So my point is that presented itself to my life, and my calling is to take everything I know and what I'm passionate about, and help forge my reality. And so I don't give a rat's ass about a government because realistically, they go around in circles. They do,
Yeah.
and it's the same story over and over again. It's just different angle. Look at the law of polarity. But what I can affect in my life is these young people need assistance. I can construct that. I can bless them with my tutorage. I can train people to tutor them and mentor them better, etc., etc. So that's how I live
Right.
my life. What can I affect? How do I
Right.
move it forward? And
Right.
especially in these crazy times.
Dude, that's a lot to unpack. That's like two suitcases. Well, okay, so
You got me on a good day.
this is awesome. So you started out with this in-depth thing because I talked to Kirsty the day or the day after you got there, and I was giving her a hard time about that night, and you were going out and getting some wine and all that. But I think right after that, because I remember Morgan and I talking about it, like within the next day or two, some big energy came in. Like I think even right after the show or something. And so now you're talking about this in-depth experience that y'all had, and what did you call it? Radical realness, radical rawness, radical realness. And then you went into this interesting thing about the transitioning. And just to be clear, I mean, we're talking about, I guess, really primarily a very or a full blown patriarchal type of energy or organization, very competitive, very streamlined. And when men come out of that, traditionally, when men come out of retirement, like you were talking about the people you work with in the military and that are in professional sports making a transition, that's what you're talking about, right? And, I remember reading back in my 20s and my teens when I was reading sports pages, a lot of professional athletes would commit suicide like within 2 or 3 years after they got out. So I understand what you're saying. What I thought was really kind of interesting as I was reflecting on it was if you look at like UFC, or you look at the military, or you look at, I'll show you real football, NFL, it's full blown patriarchal. Is it that deconstruction that you're talking about that occurs and that is inevitable? And this is such a glaring example. Uh, do you think that those types of organizations or energies are going to start breaking down? Is that part of
Oh,
what you're
totally.
saying? Is that part of what you're saying too?
Yeah, totally. Well, the UFC is a great example. UFC's lost its origin. Like lots of young mothers in particular, who are having trouble with their young sons, go, should I get them into martial arts? And I say, if you do, go and talk to the sensei. Go and talk to the person who's in charge, and ask them a whole heap of questions about why they do it, and what the real deeper reason is for their art, because it's an art form. And if you don't get a spiritual answer, don't go near them. Don't go near them because they have lost connection to the art,
Right,
which
right,
means that they are therefore imbalanced. And because it is a heavy masculine form, they won't be able to hold that energy appropriately. You look at women in the military, the proportion of women in the military is still ridiculously low. I speak for just the Australian military, and retention of them is quite hard. Um, And there's this political correctness to push them into the front line. Well, as being a frontline commander in the military before, having deployed on operations and commanded people, I always had women in my combat team. So it's the rubbish to say that they're not on the front line, but and they are now throughout the Australian military. But the thing is, you watch the woman change, significantly change in herself, and she will develop a masculine energy.
Right.
She'll have to lean towards that masculine energy. And Kirsty, did an incredible presentation back in 2010. She was asked to go in and present to all these young women at varying levels from first year cadet right through to senior commander, and just women, about 300 or so in this room. And she called them out on some really powerful stuff, in that she called out the bitch fighting within the women's fraternity, because they were often they won't close ranks as such. They'll actually bitch fight against themselves so that they can be seen to gain approval to the male, because they're still screaming for that masculine approval. You can totally understand. It's completely
Well, you see
understandable.
it on TikTok and on Reels all the time on Facebook and YouTube. Well, I don't see them anymore, but used to see it a lot. And I even see it. My girls are what? The young ones are 20 and 21.
Mhm.
So just would have been what, 7, 8 years ago, walking through the mall and seeing basically this misogynistic energy. Uh, either girls fighting or dudes. I'm talking like young people, like or
Yeah,
dudes
yeah,
just being really assholes, right? And I was like,
yeah.
whoa, what's that? I've never seen that before. Maybe that's when it
We
all
see
started coming out.
the funky thing about leadership is actually it's more a feminine quality than it is a masculine quality.
Hmm.
And I generalize on that because the masculine aspect of setting direction, vision, etc. That's cool, but the creative, the emotional, the flow aspect of the feminine, that's why leadership is actually a whole brain function. It is a definitive thing of the union of the two, the masculine and the feminine, together
Yeah.
in an individual. Um, and so, one of the issues with female CEOs is baldness. What's baldness? It happens with a high level of testosterone, because what's happened is they've lent towards this masculinity as opposed to allowing their femininity to stand up. And you can even hear it in the way they're described. Quite often, a CEO, a woman CEO, is called a ball breaker. And the whole point about it is that she's very much in her masculine, as opposed to having this beautiful balance of feminine, masculine qualities. Like Hillary Clinton is, I don't know if she has too much feminine left, but because she's very much in that archetype. Margaret Thatcher, these people, these women, nothing against them. It's just where they've had to lead their energy to operate as they do.
Okay. Damn. You're on fire today. Um, so we went through this thing about, I don't even know what it was, maybe 7 to 10 days ago. This moment where everything got wiped clean in the relationship.
Whew.
And I
Boom.
guess we had our own kind of radical responsibility. It was a different evolution, or I don't know. I wouldn't even describe it like that. I'm just trying to relate to what you were saying and the point that you reached. Did it? Does it feel like that type of energies here, right? Does it feel like that type of energies here where it's occurred? Maybe we're still feeling the effects and trying to figure it out. But I mean, do you feel like that's something like that happened where there was a mutual neutrality or 0 point or something?
I definitely do. And the interesting thing about that energy is you can do it anytime. You don't need the globe through her resonance, the solar galactic activity, or whatever outside yourself to 0 point. And I recommend 0 pointing regularly, because if you think about it, like, let's just talk just basic psychology. The amount of times we'll bring the crap of the past into the present moment, therefore forging our future. Instead of going, okay, I'm going to look into the past and I'm going to learn the lesson of the past, and then I can only do that in this present moment, though. And so then I say, thank you, lesson. and I zero the past. Now neurology is demonstrating memory. Anyway, memory is completely formed in this moment, and that's why it can change so often. And people say, "No, my memories are embedded in
That's
my
right.
for life." No, 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 no,
It's like
no.
if we. It's like when you wake up in the morning. How do you know? How do you know that everything wasn't just implanted into your brain? Well, like think about it. You're sleeping
Mm,
8 hours, so you don't know what's going on. How do you know? How do we know that we don't wake up that morning and every memory we have is what it is, and but tomorrow morning we're like a totally different person and we got a whole different set of. How do we know?
wasn't there a movie back like ages ago with Arnold Schwarzenegger called Total Recall where they did that? Like they zeroed his memory,
I think
and
I remember watching that like back in the 80s or 90s,
yeah,
and but yeah, and I think Colin, what's his name, made a whatever
oh, Colin
redid it.
Farrell, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Colin Farrell.
Mm.
But no, go ahead. I mean, you just made me think of that when you were saying that. Like our memories are right now.
Yeah,
Memories
exactly.
are made right this moment. Yeah.
So, I mean, you just psychologically have a look at that and go, cool. I, as long as I learn the lesson of the past, like for
Mhm.
crying out loud, that's the point of like. I know
Yeah.
history's been manipulated. I know we're not taught everything. For crying out loud, I studied Second World War history at a university level, and being in the military, I had an affinity to military history. And when I went and saw Omaha Beach and the war cemetery there, like my sister-in-law had never really understood World War II history. And funny story, okay, just quick one, quick tangent on this one.
Okay.
We got there, it was 5:30 p.m. and like it would all closed up. And like we'd come from Australia, Kirsty was 20 weeks pregnant, 22 weeks pregnant, and I had my sister-in-law and her boyfriend there. And I'm going, there's no bloody way I'm not coming 12,000 kilometers to actually not see this bloody cemetery. So let's go for a walk. And I said, what do you mean? I said, we'll find a way in. They go, you can't do that. So anyway, we walked around this perimeter road, and there's this fence with just razor wire all around the top. And I'm going, why razor wire? Come on, people. Like they're all dead inside. No one's going to escape. And anyway, so we go around, and I found this access gate about 8 foot high, and there was no razor wire over the top. I said, righto, let's go. And they said, go where? And I said, inside. And they've gone, you can't do that. So I grabbed Kirsty's water bottle and I threw it over. And I said, well, someone's got to go and get the water bottle. And I hooked Kirsty over. She's 22 weeks pregnant. So I threw her over the bloody gate. And I said, well, the pregnant woman's in there. And so the other two had nobody excuse. So we all clamber over and we walk through this bush. And then all of a sudden the bush stops. And there's incredible manicured lawn and all this surreal white headstones and crosses are there. And it's like, no one was in this thing. It was just us and this place. And it was like the energy of the place was next level.
Wow.
Anyway, in the middle, there's this like memorial with this map that tries to depict World War II. And these guys had no idea about it. And anyway, so I took them through, for 2 hours, I took them through a World War II history lesson. Now, I get the fact that World War II history, the way that's taught is only in part, and the victor also,
Right.
writes the history.
Right.
But the point that I'm making is
And
that
Hitler's in
even
Antarctica and they're flying spaceships all over the solar system. So, who won? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm not saying it's not out of the question.
dude, I never, buddy, I never say nothing is not
Yeah,
possible
that's right. Never
anymore.
say never.
Like after what I've seen,
Truth is stranger than fiction.
that's right. But the thing is, like, there's a reason for actually looking into your part. Look into your genealogy. Look into where you've come from, because your bloodline will harbor glory and it will harbor wounding. And it's our choice whether or not we heal the wounding to magnify the glory, and then to bring that into the present moment, and then shift that forward into the generations to come,
Yeah.
or not. Or look into my simple past, the past that I've lived in my time on the planet, and go, do I learn the lessons of the moment? And then when I've learned the lesson, then I can zero, and then I can go right. Because zeroing for me is like letting go of all judgment, shame, resentment,
Yeah.
all that crap.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing you say with you and Morgan is exactly what happened with Kirsten and I. And the funny thing is, we're getting back from going away, and she said, I thought we went away to connect. And I said, well, gorgeous, we have. But you keep telling me to actually let go of expectation about how it's going to happen. And like,
You know,
it's, This is the biggest letting go of expectation, but by hell, we're deeper connected than we've ever been before.
That's right. I can tell you, I'm 99% certain that after that show, whatever night, I know we're on different parts of the world, that night happened, or my night happened, and there was big energy with Morgan and I. And I think it wasn't anything like, hot. It was just like some big stuff happened. And I
Yeah.
remember her saying, some referencing what your night would have been like because the energy was so pronounced.
Yeah.
But I love what you're saying because even in being satirical about how do we know we don't wake up and all the memories were put in our head, and it's just the memories are of the moment, in the moment, right? But who puts the memories in there, right? I mean, what you're saying is everything you've learned that you can recall in this incarnation, you can make a new choice, so to speak, or you know what I mean? Have a new approach. And that can be done in an instant. I'm not who I was yesterday. You're not who you were when I was doing the show with Kirsty. And you know what? I wasn't the same that I am now when I did the show. That was just one energetic pulsation that's occurred. But yeah, I think what you're saying
Yeah.
is like it's I guess in a way self responsibility, like
Oh,
maturity.
totally. Which is what I'm talking about, radical realness, radical responsibility. Morgan's getting into you about your lady on your head. She
What?
even last time, yeah, she just sent a comment. Last time, she actually sent me a photo second, and I laughed. And she seated me again, which is why I was laughing before. Morgan's in the background, just manipulating our memories right now. Um, I mean, this is my point, man. And everyone is capable of doing it. It's like this whole when I looked into myself and went and owned the coward. It's like I was having a chat to Kirsten. It was last night or this morning or something. It's like having to own the narcissist, like
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I've got. I've always been this virtuous man, and anyone who knows me knows that my call to action on my code is really, really strong. And I've had some really close friends, one in particular, she called me on it and she goes, you're too virtuous. And like, I went,
Yeah,
that was a hard one to take.
yeah.
And she said,
Kind
you
of like
need to,
martyr energy, right?
it would exactly, because that's the shadow of virtue. Yeah.
Right.
So the, I've gone, okay. And so I went deeper and deeper, and then what I saw is the coward is actually coming out of the virtuous person, not the narcissist. Because the virtuous person was saying, "I don't want to break a relationship up. I won't do that to her. So I'll go to my dying day, not living a fulfilled
It's the
life because
overgiving that it's the overgiving that love used to be, and here's the crazy thing: two people could be in the same. Well, you obviously they're in the same relationship. They could both feel exactly the same way, and be so clueless to the other person feeling that way that you don't have a dog's chance in hell. You know?
no. So this point was the narcissist. Like, I don't believe in this whole thing about we need to get rid of narcissism at left, right, and center. It's just running down the same road as we need to get rid of bullying. We need
It's
to get rid of drugs.
I love what you
Every-
said. You own the narcissist. I mean,
right.
I say to myself, I know that about myself. It's like when people ask you, uh, how's it go? The person that asks you if they're crazy isn't crazy because people that are crazy don't think they're crazy. You know what I mean with the logic with that. So it's the same thing. I you know I don't know. For me, uh, and I don't probably identify with being an empath, probably because I just don't understand it. But what I get from people, to me, that's the biggest thing. The biggest gift for me as an empath is to claim my narcissism, because to me that's it. Just keeps me always. It's always in my head. Are you being over virtuous? Are you being an asshole? Are you thinking that your cause is better than the others? It's just like I said a while ago. If I don't think, if I believe that I'm overgiving and I know, I love you and by God, I'm going to do whatever, even if it kills me, and you're seeing it the same way, and we don't even realize that we're on the same frequency,
Mm,
you know.
mm.
So this is like virgin territory. Getting there is one thing. Creating in it, it's not. It doesn't seem to be like it's going to be difficult, but it feels very spontaneous, very in the moment, very
Well,
sensitivity related.
have a look at what Virgin like originally was. It was whole woman. It wasn't this thing that we rave on about now. It's the whole point about the Virgin Mary. And if you're missing the esoteric meaning of the Virgin Mary, if you just think that she didn't copulate before, have sex. It's the point is that in like the sacred the sacred high priestess or the
Yeah,
sacred prostitute
yeah,
was whole.
yeah,
And that's the whole point about virginity is
yeah,
that she was whole. Aphrodite was whole, and she would always hold her wholeness. She
yeah,
would never give it over to a man.
yeah,
It's like she held her wholeness. That's amazing. That's the shit that men fear, like really fear. Like a man can stand in a room, and if a goddess walks in, he doesn't need to look. He knows she's just entered. But if he's not balanced in himself, there's part of him that fears the fuck out of her presence
yeah,
because she knows he sees him, and she knows she has the power to completely grab him and like lead him down whatever path she wants to lead if he's not balanced.
yeah,
So this point is, go back to radical realness, radical wholeness, and also zeroing is to come to this place of balance. This virgin territory it's ripe, but we've got to remember that any garden needs tilling,
yeah,
and it also
yeah,
soil needs to be turned over and the weeds need to be pulled out, and
yeah.
then we plant.
But yes, but it's like on this side of the fence, from what little experience I've had. I thought it was 7 to 10 days ago. I think I saw something. She put it was 4 days ago. It feels like it was a long time ago. But on this side of the fence, that uh, you know, tilling and working the soil and so on doesn't seem to be like stressful. Like I don't know. Something's happened where there's the pressure's off. Because if
Mm.
you think about that, where'd the pressure actually come from? Did you actually pressure me, or did my overcompensating, devotion and virtuousness, that martyrism, did I, take it on while I'm building up this thing like I'm giving so much, I'm giving so much, I'm loving so much. Why am I being treated like all that stuff? Think about that. All that stuff, judgment, shame, blame.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it,
and so the narcissist was calling out my coward. Like I've got so much to thank my narcissist for, but I had to give him voice.
yeah.
And he said, "Dude, your virtuous man's been a coward right now." I said, "No, he can't be he can't be a coward. Like he's
Okay.
virtuous, and all this stuff, dude. This is how it is." And that's the point of the narcissist. They speak really,
I
really straight.
get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying now, and I just had that happen with like in the last 10 days. So it wasn't with the word narcissist. It was shadow related, and that part, that supposed darkness, spoke to me. Like you're
Yep.
saying, I get what you're saying now. The narcissist actually has wisdom. Okay, the shadow, just as the shadow has wisdom. And so you can't gain the wisdom of whatever that archetype is. Let's say, in this case, narcissist. You can't gain the wisdom of the narcissist until you say, it's part of me. Now, whether there's
Hmm.
old archetypes leaving us and new archetypes coming, I would tend to believe that it's the transformation of those archetypes within ourselves.
Hmm.
And I love the way you bring it up because we own everything. What part of the universe is not us? So let's break it down to the 12 archetypes or the 12, and and use just this. We could use this, but this is the kind of realization and awareness I think that people are hitting. And even at the beginning of the show, you were talking about in that organization and about these men, like stepping into a place like a an awareness and love for themselves where they're starting to take whole actions to return to that wholeness that you're talking
Mm.
about with the sacred priestesses.
Mm. Mm. And it's there for women as well. Like the amount of men that I work with that like are very big, like large physically, and had fairly small women like physically abuse them is like crazy.
Hmm.
Um, and if they were to go in front of a judge and the two would stand there, the judge would just laugh and has laughed. And there's a number of cases that I've worked with it. The men have been laughed out of court. Um, but yeah, my point is, just simple. It's not a man thing. It's not a woman thing. It's an us thing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and it's for everyone to own these aspects of ourselves and know that the first part of ownership will often bring shame, guilt, and all those other emotions: anger, sadness, fear, shame, and guilt. And it will quite regularly dump on us. And when our self-awareness, I was talking about this yesterday to a person, when our self-awareness is low, sometimes we mistakenly believe that we trust ourselves. So we'll believe that our trust is high. And some people will say, no, no, I don't trust myself, but they'll actually still have an inflated opinion of their own self-trust. When our self-awareness grows, our self-trust drops straight through the floor,
Yeah.
and our self-awareness will go up, and then our self-trust might actually smash into the ground, which is why like according to a study done in 2016, I think it was, through Griffith University, I think 64% of men who are taking their own life in Australia have already asked for help, like at least once, put their hand up and ask for help once. So the
Wow.
question is, well, how come? Well, there's many things to that statistic, but the point is, what I'm making is that when our self-awareness goes up, by virtue of we're getting help, someone's telling us, we're personally owning it, we're just seeing it through our own eyes, whatever it is, like our self-trust drops and hits the floor until a point where our self-awareness will keep going, and then we'll hit this 0 point you're talking about, where the shame and the guilt is less than my desire to grow. So my desire to
Right,
become
right, right, right.
self-aware, to
Gotcha.
understand and
Yeah.
grow, is above my desire to beat the shit out of myself because of what I've done. And then, and only then, will our self-trust actually come off the floor and start growing with us. And that's
Well,
like, I see that on a daily basis.
absolutely. And see, to me, it's the narcissist in me that's giving me hell that creates the guilt and the shame. It's not some other narcissist, it's me, right? So there's both, there's I guess, wisdom gain in understanding or admitting or submitting to the fact that, you're, you know, holding yourself under your own thumb. And that's where it's
Yeah.
coming from. But then you flip it. Then you flip it because that same frequency provides the gold and calls you out. Like I can think of a couple of people in my life, okay, that were the main antagonists in my life, and regardless of the absurdity or whatever, even if 2% of what their eyes could see as their narcissistic mirror to me, these two antagonists, when they said a certain something, they were absolutely right. And it was that what you're speaking of. It was that
Mm,
narcissist calling you out.
mm,
So it's. But you're right, it is coming down to a non-gendered thing. But I
mm,
think these are the characteristics of the evolution to that,
yeah,
these episodes, right?
totally. And that's the thing moving forward. Gender is simply another way of blaming and externalizing, which actually disempowers myself.
Yeah.
So it is, and it's not just gender; it's anything else. Like, you've got more money than I have, so you can be more philanthropic, or you can do more stuff. I don't have any money. That's just simply externalizing again.
Yeah.
Now, any time that we do that, we completely disempower ourselves, and we allow ourselves to be the victim. Now, the victim and the savior, like the poles of that existence, if you go right into one, like the savior, the rescuer, whatever complex you want, very closely related to the martyr, by the way,
Right.
as is the victim. Like when you go and you own both those poles, you then transcend to this point. And remember, transcendence is because of forgiveness of self, no one else. But we come to this point of champion, where I champion you and I champion myself,
Exactly. It's all the same.
and it is.
It's the same. Your very thoughts, words, and actions are that that
Yeah,
frequency. That, some people call it the Trinity. Uh,
yeah,
and I don't know about you, but ever since this thing happened, I guess it was 4 days ago, I have been literally, dude, like a 16, 17-year-old hormonal. Just, I've been like, what the hell's going on? I keep having like electricity running through my legs and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what. There's been some stuff with the body that seems to be, we've talked about it. A lot of people have talked about it, but yeah, I don't know. I've always seen like your relationship, our relationship, people's individual journeys. There's a certain parallel with what's happening. If you look and see, like you can say collectively or whatever. But yeah, man, it's a new world.
that one's calling us to be more disciplined.
Hmm.
Like, um, like for me in my sexuality, because I've had a libido all my life, very very high. Just no one ever taught me what it was. No one ever showed me the ropes. Um, and really help me understand that this energy, this sexual energy, is nothing to be ashamed of. It's both healing energy and creative energy, and it can shift from one to the other. It can do it both at the same time, etc. And the point is, I was with a person the other day, and we were just looking out at trees, and she goes to me, "Who used to say that trees aren't simply an orgasm all day?" And that's that one statement.
Hmm.
I then just looked at it, and like that had a deeper reflection on me. So who's to say I can't walk around in bliss all day, like orgasmic bliss? And I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's an intriguing video of him when he was very very young saying, "I orgasm all day," and I had no idea what he's talking about. So that was a really
That's
poor.
that's that's sacral energy. That's
It is.
creative
That was a really
energy,
poor
life
try on
force,
Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice too, um, but,
honored
but
on Maria. I
Maria, get to the chopper.
I copulated
Hey,
with the maid. I can't do.
the, the point is though, like what I'm realizing about this energy is the discipline required with it. Now, discipline's a really intriguing word because so many people run from it. And I was in the military for crying out 17 years, and like there was a lot of discipline involved in being in the military. Majority of it being imposed. So I get out and like I just let go with the flow.
Yeah,
It's all good. But then I realized discipline in its truest sense comes from my heart space.
sure does.
Like I
Yeah,
will prioritize when my heart tells me what to do, I'll naturally prioritize what I have to do in line with that achievement. And so I'll have the desire for that achievement and everything that it brings, the journey and the end goal all in one. Like I'll be disciplined in that approach.
yeah,
So when I feel this energy and like, I know the raw power of it too, and this is
right,
where the warrior is really really good at
right,
understanding that archetype
right.
because you don't wield a broadsword unless you know
No,
how
you
to
don't
wield
want
a
to
broadsword.
hijack that power just to show your muscles off.
And she'll just walk away
It's
anyway.
just like any other, even the narcissist thing. It's just like that. It just takes the power. Takes the
Mm.
power.
So you don't want to be a boy with this energy.
No.
Like, I mean, it doesn't mean to say you can't have fun. Like, that's the whole point of it. But or not the whole point, but the major point of it. But
Yeah. I
like
just keep having these visions. I'm not thinking of them. They just pop in my head. No, I'm kidding.
is that the woman on the forehead?
I don't know what's up with that, but now I can't look at the screen. I have my picture, my picture's off. But
That's a
because I
very
can't look
erotic
at
picture.
I can't look at it because I keep seeing that. Well, why is that happening? And with what's on our mind right now, or on my mind, dang. I got a tight schedule. We got another show in 10 minutes. We only got a couple more minutes. Would
Right.
you
What
had
do you
it
want
kind of,
from?
huh? What I want from
What
you?
do you want from?
For me or for you? What would I
I don't
like?
mind.
Uh, I
Mm.
don't know. Do you want to? Hey, do you know any like chants or songs like chants? You know any chants? I mean, I know you go out into the outback, into the bush. I mean, when I go out there, I do it by myself. I do some crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. You want to share a story? I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to talk about.
Um, what do we need? What do I feel we
Prayer,
need?
declaration.
Declaration.
Man, fucking thunder's hitting right now. You know that this storm
I just
started
heard
the
that.
second that you came on. And now look at that. This is what I'm talking about.
Mm.
These are no longer coincidences.
Mm.
So I'll let you lead.
Let us lead. Well, have a think about what we've been talking about. So radical ownership, virgin territory, 0 point, moving forward. So, and the fact that it's an inside job and it's everyone's job. So let's just explore this and let's put a prayer out into the universe which encapsulates everything that we've been talking about before. So I now just let my heart speak, and through me, bless it that my heart will speak. And the prayer is for us to have the courage to own all aspects of self, knowing that all aspects of self have a reason. They're part of us. They're part of us to show us the way. We're never alone. When we feel alone, it is simply because we've turned our back on the great divine, and the divine is simply waiting for us to turn around. The divine's within us. The divine is us. And this beautiful interplay of us and the divine brings forth what we know is true. Blessed are we who seek the truth. The mystic within us comes forth. The mystic must own all parts, the light and the dark, and own both parts, not to the exclusion of the other, but at the mutual inclusion of both. May we have the strength to own both our light and both our dark, understand the interplay that comes through love and love alone. May love be our guide. May our love be our guide to bring forth our inner masculine, so our inner masculine can hold space for the beautiful feminine within, the beautiful feminine that comes and is brought forth through our heart, through our loins, and creates through her womb. Through her nurturing, may what she creates come forth in such beauty and radiance and harmony that all humanity and everything that humanity interplays with at a multidimensional level come to a new place, a radical new place of beauty, truth, ownership, and an interplay which sees us move forward in a harmonic way, a harmonic fashion, which is blessed to all. May this be done in accordance with the most divine of truths, the most divine of loves. And we are blessed that we have the power to be here in this moment, to be part of this moment and see it when we allow ourselves to see it. And I give thanks that we have the ability, those that lead, those that follow, all of us together have the ability to be one in the one. Amen.
Amen. That's a wrap. OG Soul Speak. Dude, we never done that before. That's
No, we
perfect.
haven't.
That's perfect. Absolutely. It is done. It is done.
It
It is
is done.
done.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Man, I'm speechless. I love you. Peace out. How am I going to function the rest of the day? Probably
With
pretty
love.
good. Yeah. There you go.
Bromance love, man.
I know.